The Epidemiological School Simulator uses computer modeling to generate probable outcomes for viral propagation in a school environment. While specifically designed for multi-teacher environments such as junior highs, high schools, and colleges, some utility may also be found in simulating single classroom environments as well. When you first start the simulator, you'll see this screen. Great care has been taken to use actual statistical data to compute the simulation variables. However, studies have not been conducted on all required variables. As a result, the first menu presents you with a list of variables you will get to adjust for yourself. Use the sliders to determine the number of seats in each classroom, the number of periods each student has per day, and the total number of students in your school. The computer will calculate the number of classrooms required to accommodate all students. This model errs on the conservative side here, as teacher prep periods are not simulated. Thus, fewer teachers will be required to accommodate all students. Administrators should be aware of this fact, since predicted substitute requirements, total lost teacher days, and teacher casualties will be lower than in reality. The simulated number should therefore be considered a baseline for these variables. Reliable data is not available to predict how often people get sick from coming into contact with a contaminated surface, so the user gets to set that value for themselves here. Teachers become ill when a user-defined percentage of the desks in their classroom become contaminated. This metric is used because it serves as a measurement of the number of sick individuals the teacher has been exposed to for any given day. Since actual research on teacher infection rates has not been completed, users can make that determination for themselves using this slider. Administrators will be made aware when a student tests positive for COVID-19 and be given the opportunity to require all students and teachers in those classes to undergo a 14-day period of self-quarantine. Research has not been done to determine what percentage of those who are sick will actually seek COVID testing. This is the final unknown variable in the equation. Users can make their own adjustments using this slider. Some schools may require students to wear a mask, while others may not. You can simulate the impact of both options using this button. When you've made your selections, hit the Next button. Some schools are offering hybrid schedules. You can simulate the impact of various school schedules by permitting students on campus for only a limited number of days. Red days are days off, green days are school days. Simply select whichever days you want students to come to school and hit the Next button. This screen shows you what the various color codes in the simulation indicate. Classrooms appear as a grid of white boxes. Each white square is an empty student desk. The grid starts off gray, which indicates that the teacher has been unaffected. A blue box indicates that the teacher is asymptomatic, but will still teach the class because they don't know they're sick. A red box indicates that the teacher is symptomatic and is staying home. This class will be taught by a substitute. Any black boxes will indicate that that teacher has succumbed to COVID-19. Students are indicated by small colored squares. Students all start off with a lime green color and indicates that they are not contagious and unaffected by the disease. The simulation is seated with a single asymptomatic student. The student does not know that they are sick and comes to school and starts spreading the disease. When a student becomes infected, they will turn blue. This indicates that they are in incubator and not yet contagious. Students once again turn yellow when they are either asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. Some students will experience mild symptoms and may still come to school. These students will be indicated as red. When a student has recovered from the illness, they will turn dark green. White squares once again indicate an empty seat, and pink squares indicate an empty seat that has been contaminated with the virus. Students who sit at this desk run the risk of getting infected. The aforementioned user-defined variables exist because research has not been done to accurately determine what those variable values should really be. Proper research has been completed for many of the most important variables in the model, however. The nature of the data and where it was sourced is listed on this page in the interests of transparency and to lend validity to the prediction algorithm the simulation uses. When you click the Next button, the simulation will begin. You can see that the school is populated with all of the green students, indicating that they are unaffected. A single yellow square indicates the contagious student. As the simulation progresses, you can see that pink square is left behind by the student, indicating that his desk has been contaminated. Anyone who sits there runs the risk of being infected. Here you can see we're starting to get a few infected students indicated by the blue color here. The statistics on the right side of the screen give you a breakdown of what's happening in the simulation. Here we're in period 7 on Monday, day 1. There are 5 students who are incubating the virus. They are not yet contagious. Here we advanced to Tuesday. We had indicated that Tuesday is a day off, so we skipped that day and advanced to Wednesday. The students filter into campus on period 1 on Wednesday morning. Over the course of the last few days, some students may have advanced in the illness and may have become symptomatic. In this case, we see that we're up to 7 incubators, and 2 of them are contagious but not showing any symptoms. Each one of these grid boxes is a classroom, and you can see that when the students get to all of their classrooms, they eventually shuffle to go to their next period. Here we're on period 4 on Wednesday, day 3. All students have arrived at their desks and now will shuffle to go to their next period. You can adjust the speed of the simulation using this slider here. You can see the total number of infections listed here. 13 students have become infected so far. So far, no students are absent, none have recovered. And the total number of students who have not been impacted by the virus are listed here. This number started off at 3,000 and was a user-specified value on the first menu. Here you can see we are advancing past all of the non-school days. On Monday, the students once again filter in from off campus. You can see over the last couple of days when they have not been at school that we have 1 student who has recovered from the illness, indicated by this dark green color. We have several more students who have advanced out of the incubation stage and are now contagious. This red box indicates that that student is symptomatic but has come to school anyway. You can see during passing periods, as indicated by the pink boxes, that more and more desks are becoming contaminated from sick students. This pop-up window appears when one of our symptomatic students has tested positive for COVID-19. You will get to play the role of the administrator in this case and get to determine whether or not students who came in contact with that sick student will be required to undergo a mandatory 14-day quarantine. If you want to quarantine the students, hit the Yes button. These missing classes indicate the periods where that sick student who tested positive would have been. All of the students in that class are required to stay home, as is the teacher. If multiple students tested positive, you'll see multiple missing classes from the scenario. The total number of quarantined students is listed here. The total number of students who are staying home because of illness is listed here. This simulation only calculates absent students who are absent from COVID and does not take into account other absences. There's an area down here for parent deaths. Each student is assigned between 1 and 2 guardians. When a sick student brings the disease home, their parents will become infected and die at the disease's mortality rate. Here we can see that 3 more students have tested positive for the disease, and you are once again given the opportunity to determine whether or not you want to quarantine those students. This time I'll click No. The next day we can see that 4 more symptomatic students have tested positive, and I'm once again given the opportunity to quarantine them. I will once again select No. Each day we can see that more and more students are testing positive for the disease, and you are given an opportunity to quarantine students every time one of them tests positive. Here you can see the total number of teacher days that have been lost due to the illness. This will give administrators an idea of how many substitutes they will need to handle teacher absences during the pandemic. It's important to note that transmission does not occur during passing period. The increases to the incubator counts that you see during passing period are happening when students arrive at a contaminated desk. No account for sharing materials, lunchtime interaction, recess, or travel on school buses has been factored in. Thus, predicted transmission rates err on the conservative side. This model also assumes that teachers are responsible enough to stay home once they are showing symptoms. Therefore, teachers do not spread the virus to students in this model. This again causes the model to err on the conservative side. I'll speed up the simulation now. Here we can see that more teachers are starting to become infected. And you can see that we've lost our first teacher here as well, indicated by the black grid. Total teacher casualties are also listed on the statistics at the bottom. The simulation will terminate when all students have recovered. As previously mentioned, this simulation is primarily designed for multi-classroom environments such as junior highs, colleges, and high school environments. However, some utility may be found in elementary school settings as well. To simulate a single classroom environment, turn the total number of students in the school down to a number less than or equal to the number of seats in the classroom. Adjust periods today to 1. Adjust any other sliders how you see fit. Select the days as you normally would. Here you can see a single classroom environment, seated with one sick student. We are advancing through each of the days. In a single classroom environment, since there's only one period, students will sit in the same desk every time. So there's less of a chance that a student will get sick by sitting at a contaminated desk. Here you can see that students also only infect those who are sitting on either side of them. It is assumed that rows are spaced with 6 feet distance in front and behind, thus transmission will only occur between students who are sitting next to each other. Remember, younger students are notorious for putting things in their mouths, so actual transmission rates are likely to be much higher than predicted in an elementary setting. Here you can see that the simulation has terminated once all of the infections have stopped. On day 44, we no longer have any infections.